So I have Mel here with me, founder of Mad Hair,
Hi.
and also stand up with Mel recently. And Mel, please introduce yourself to everyone here.
Yes, hi guys. My name is Mel. You can call me Mel Chai. I think a lot of people call me Mel Chai with my last name. I don't know why, but because I introduce myself so much that it sticks with people, so I like that. Let's go with it. I'm a typical multi-passionate entrepreneur. I spend most of my time building my brand Mad Hair. And other times I do stuff like this, like pursuing my passion projects. So what I've discovered is, as I go to networking events or like just meet new people. Now, how do you speak well? How do you make people actually remember you? Why does everybody know Mel Chai? And I was like, I don't know. Everybody knows Mel Chai. I mean, I didn't intend it to be that way, but I was just enjoying just being myself. When you know who you are, you have that high level of self-awareness and you really just amplify that and express it through your behavior, your speeches, whatever you do. And I realized people do ask like my advice for personal branding. I guess it came natural to me because I'm very passionate about helping people find their purpose and aligning it back to their career or business. And so I feel if you're able to know what your unique strengths are, you're able to enjoy life in a more fulfilled way, it could be a story to your own personal brand too.
So personal brand is something very important because if people do not know you, they will not follow you. And in a past conference, I've mentioned that we have to become popular or famous. You're only useful when you're famous because your good stuff, your product, your service can be seen and used by others. The opposite of that is just to shy away and hide in the shadows, which makes you no use to anybody. So what's your take on personal branding?
I think a lot of people, they have this misconception about, I don't want to be out there, I don't want to be put in front of, everyone. I want to be behind the scene. There's a lot of benefit of being behind the scene, but if you're the founder of the brand and if your role is meant to be amplifying the good works that your company or yourself is doing, then you have to build a personal brand.
When I talk to people, they say like, I'm a bit afraid of putting myself out there. What are the most common mistakes, or not common mistakes, common fears that people have when it comes to putting themselves outside and, in a way, branding themselves?
They don't speak well. They don't know the scariest question is, hello, nice to meet you. What do you do?
And you get stuck.
Yeah. And because they are so afraid of not knowing what to say, but if they start introducing themselves, they become this boring, uninteresting person. And then it's a vicious cycle. Then you feel unconfident, then you feel like you have this whole imposter syndrome, then you start doubting of what you're building and what you're doing. And so my tip for a lot of people is before you go meet somebody or before you step out of the house and you're ready for a work meeting, prepare a one-liner elevator introduction of yourself. Let's do this. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Mel. I'm a proud people pleaser.
Wow, what is that?
Yeah, okay.
Then you start going.
So you see what I just did? Okay, compared to, hi, I'm Mel. I'm a salesperson of XYZ company. I'm selling software.
Cool.
Exactly. So the conversation just stopped there. Do you see, right? So I didn't gain any curiosity from the other person. And there's no conversation that flows. Obviously, after you go out from this event or whatever, the person that you will not remember is me. Like, okay, I'm a salesperson from XYZ, but he knows nothing about Mel.
What are some tips for people to be memorable at events? Like take pictures with someone and then sharing the photo with them later on? Is that something you shared earlier? I
mean, yes. It's one of those tactics lah. Okay. If you want to go back to being really authentic and being you, some people really don't like to take photos. Then
don't force them.
Don't force them. Correct. You're not a selfie type of people, right? Just prepare a very interesting statement about yourself. Every time I'm given a chance to talk about myself, I make sure I nail it. I make sure I try to approach it creatively. I make sure that I make an impression by saying maybe something that's a bit weird, a bit odd, something that's a bit unfamiliar to most people. Like what I just did. People want to know things that they don't know about. So let's say a fun fact. You can throw that in, or like give yourself a label before people label you, okay? Like a proud people pleaser, a loud introvert, maybe purpose finder, I don't know, whatever that you can come up with, maybe give yourself a 2 to 3 word brand, and then roll with it.
It's very funny because in the past conference, right, I had multiple messages from people who were attending Underdog Con, and they were asking me like, I'm pretty shy. How do I network? It's something that people don't really admit, but it's inside there. A lot of people go to events and then they just stand in one corner because they're shy, but they don't want to tell people that they want. But then in the internet world, you're hidden behind a screen, right? So they text me, and they actually text me on the Instagram, right? So I actually wrote an article on how to network.
Really?
I did. And one of the lessons that I really like is when you go to an event, know that everyone else is just like you. Although they don't look like that, they do like, wow, they look so confident and all that, but they're not actually very confident. They're also looking to shake out their nails, right? So I tell them to just go up to someone and say, hey, what brings you here? Right? And then that starts out the whole conversation.
Yeah, I really like that. If you ask someone what do, you corner them to answer it in a way that they have to talk about their job. But when you ask about what brings you here, it could be so many different responses. It could be like, oh, somebody that I met said that I probably need to step up a bit. And then it became a story, or like, oh yeah, I want to learn something. Then you get into like, how did you start with this intention, or like, when do you realize this? There's so many ways of answering a question, but I personally feel if I want to take control of how the conversation would go, I would ask a very different question. So things like, hey, what's exciting going on with you these days, or like what are some of the projects that you've worked on? Hey, tell me more about something that you want to bring forward from 2023. It can be anything. It might sound like, are you serious? It's my first time meeting someone and I ask such a jarring question. I think that just makes you stand out.
So I use two techniques that I've learned this from, I can't remember his name, Chris Voss, I think, FBI investigator, right? Mirroring and labeling. So like, for example, how I go about this is like, when I talk to someone, maybe you say, oh, I'm into tennis. And then I'll go like, tennis? And when you do that, right, they will start to elaborate further.
Wow.
Right? So like, it's like, oh, I love tennis. Tennis? I play on Sundays. Oh, Sundays? You just mirror what the person is saying. And the conversation will continue without you having to say anything. Right? The person will continue and you learn more, you get more information about this person.
Great tip.
And then the second one is labeling. Labeling is you just label the person, oh, you sound like someone who loves sports. And then that person is going to continue saying, I do love sports, I'm very active, I love doing this and that and that. Oh, you're very active? So I'm doing mirroring, I'm labeling the person and it continues the conversation.
Oh, I love that. Can I add one more tip to that?
Yeah, sure.
Is to compliment that person. It's very simple. Sometimes it's very hard to compliment guys, by the way. Girls is
What is
easy.
your favorite compliments to guys?
Hey, I like this shirt. Okay. That's my standard. Then that person feels like, oh, I'm seen. So there's a psychological thing that's happening in that person's body. It's dopamine that's being released. And that actually gives you more incentive to remember the person who compliments you because you are seen.
Let's jump back into personal branding for a bit, right? When it comes to personal branding in this age of AI technology, what is your very down basic steps to branding yourself and putting yourself out there?
Number one, you need to really know who you are. Number two is communicate who you are. And we have mentioned a few, whether it's labels or 1 to 2, 3 word brand, or what you have on your IG profile heading or your LinkedIn profile heading. Number 3 is build a LinkedIn profile. And I think there's so much strength in building this social media platform. And this is the only social media platform that you can actually search people by profession. IG, people used to use hashtags, but it's not country specific.
Kind of dead anymore, right?
I know, hashtag is not a good search engine. IG people go there with a completely different behavior. They are there to seek, short form reels, wisdoms, insights, or like funny videos, getting entertained, but they are more so to get socialized, or even if they get insights or education, it's in a very relaxed time. But when you're on LinkedIn, a different mindset is being switched on. You're there to look for something intentionally for your profession ambitions or your professional opportunities. So I would say that don't miss out on building a good LinkedIn profile. Whether you post or what, we can talk about that later, because there's, some people will talk about whether they know how to write or what content they should write, what topics. That one is everything that you can discover in the workshop, by the way. It's a little plug, but really knowing yourself, giving yourself a label before others do. If you can, start today. Build a LinkedIn profile or set up one if you don't have one. There are some really strong personal brands worldwide. Michelle Obama, David Beckham, Dalai Lama, Gandhi, Marie Kondo.
All right.
All these people, they are huge personal brands.
Okay.
And I don't follow them on LinkedIn profile. I don't even know if they have a LinkedIn profile.
Because they're everywhere, right?
Correct. It's not about which platform or tool that you use. It's finding that right platform to help you shine. If we're not talking about LinkedIn, it has to be a platform that you select, that you can amplify yourself and you feel comfortable in amplifying yourself in that way.
So for me, right, when it comes to branding this way, right, in personal branding in this age, I think you have to be everywhere. So I met a lot of business owners who like, should I start on Instagram first? Oh, should I do it on LinkedIn first? Should I do it on Facebook? Facebook is this. Should I go TikTok now? You know? And my answer to them is like, start on one, but if you can, do it all. You know? Because if you observe like the biggest leaders, people who are big in their space, right?
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're on all these platforms. I think in this world, you have to be everywhere. If you're not seen, then you're not heard, basically, right? So I think that's so important, right? So yeah, so that's kind of like my take on it, you know.
That's why people are scared of building personal branding, because they are scared of having to be everywhere too. So some people, they really like the spotlight, like myself. I don't mind creating the attention.
You don't mind being in front of a platform per se, right?
Yes. So it's natural for me to want to be everywhere. But there's a part where we will address in the workshop where we want to talk about how to crack that.
Okay.
Even if you don't feel like you have the personality to do that naturally. I'm not on all social media channels too, but I choose the ones that I'm comfortable with, and showing myself consistently and telling my stories and what messages I have. Just build from one, and when I'm comfortable there and I find another comfortable channel, then maybe I'll go. But I had to find a niche to address first. I need to find like a very specific topic, a representation of myself. And when people find you, you need to know what that person can contribute to.
And what I did was I go through your profile and I look at it, what you do, where you're attached to. I was like judging from a third person perspective. But that's what we all do, right?
Correct.
We go to someone's profile, we see who this one, we kind of create this kind of mental image of this person. But that only happens if you have things to show, right?
Correct.
Right? I'm a firm believer, right, that the more you get out there, the more people you meet, as in the more contacts you make. Contact brings contracts.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
I truly believe in that. Right?
Yeah.
It's not really too much in your product, it's not too much in your this and that, but it's in the context you make. It's who you know, not really what you know. Now coming back to the AI part, right? That's why you mentioned a little about AI. Now I believe that personal branding is so much more important in the world of AI because everything is being generic. Everyone is like prompting, creating, generating, copywriting, all the kind of stuff, social media content with AI, which sounds super generic. There's no personality in that. It does not tell a story about them. Right? And therefore, people who can tell a story about themselves, will stand out.
ChatGPT or whatever tools, AI tools, help you to be productive and efficient. But in order to be authentic and helps you to stand out, is you need to apply your own voice and your own story. So you need to really find your voice.
Your vibe builds your tribe.
You
play
love
on words, right?
Puns, right? Like all this wordplay. I love it.
But it's true, right? It's true, right? But how would you advise someone who is just starting out, right? Have not done this, right? To find his or her voice.
It has to come from like this whole entire process that we have developed for the workshop, right? And there's so many steps to that. It's really discovering what you care about, what you like, what your personality is like, and those will make up your voice. Can't really break it down so much because there's so many things that inside your inner persona has to come out in order to craft your own voice.
Right. I think anybody can find their voice by doing a lot of trial and error like I did, right? But I took years and years. And even right now, I don't think I found my voice truly yet, right? I still doubt myself sometimes. I still like, is that me or is it me trying to be like someone, And I think the workshop, right, the personal branding makeover would help you to find your voice through the frameworks and also the lessons that Mel has prepared. And it's not just a course where you watch a bunch of videos and go home, but then it's a do-together thing, right? So you watch something, you learn something, you implement it immediately, and you see results. So the idea of the workshop is to implement and to get feedback from it. Right, feedback from your participants around in the same group, and also from putting out your idea, put your stories out there, and getting a feedback from the public as well. So I think that changes everything. In the workshop.
If you can prep for yourself before you come to the workshop, or even if you don't want to join the workshop, it's just a quick exercise that you can do at home. Maybe find 3 people that you really like and really admire. Constantly notice yourself quoting them. Hey, I really like...
Let's say Seth Godin.
Oh yeah, Seth Godin says this. Seth Godin did this. So more likely he would pay attention to this person because he can see himself in Seth Godin. Yeah, he can see himself in him. So if you're able to find 3 people that you can feel you relate to, then that's a good start. And then the rest, we can address that in the workshop.
So yeah, thank you so much, Mel, for being in this little short podcast interview. Anything else you'd like to leave the audience with?
A lot of people do tell you, especially the older generation, but even it's still very applicable to the modern times and even today, is your network is who you know. And I do benefit from the people that I know and the people that I can just go through in my contact and give them a call or send them a text. But your network is who knows you, and that becomes more powerful when people come to you and offer you an opportunity. Let's have both in your world and see how powerful that could help with building your career and business.